So, after the last Rincewind book and the last Lonker Witch book, you might expect this to be the last City Watch book, but don't worry. This is far from the last time you will see Sam Vimes and his crew, although that isn't to say that this book is just business as usual. Or, well, rather it is, sort of, and that's kind of the problem, or, well, I mean, you know what, let's just ask, what is the fifth elephant? As you know, the Discworld rests on the back of 4 elephants, which in turn rest on the back of a giant turtle. The elephants' names are Tabul, Jerakin, Berillia, and Great Typhon. However, according to some legends, there used to be 5 elephants, before one lost its footing, fell off the turtle, and careened through space before crashing onto the disc, where its blood became mercury and its bones became gold. Did it fall? Or was it pushed so that a certain someone could take its title of Great? The world may never know. But anyways, Sam Vimes is in a bit of a pickle. See, after the events of the previous book, he is no longer a noble by marriage, but by his own birthright. And that means that he gets to go on a diplomatic mission to Uberwald! Yay! See, the Dwarfs of Uberwald are crowning a new Low King, and it's in the best interests of Ankh-Morpork that it secure a nice trade deal with this king so that it can suckle on that sweet pachyderm blood and bone. However, upon Vimes' arrival to Uberwald, he is met with terrible news. The Scone of Stone, the coronation throne for the Low King, has been stolen. This would be bad enough on its own, but Vimes is especially suspicious. See, just before he left Ankh-Morpork, the replica Scone of Stone in the Ankh-Morpork Dwarfbred Museum was also stolen. Now, maybe the two thefts aren't connected, but come on, this is Sam Vimes we're talking about. He's at least going to investigate this. He may wish he hadn't, though, as his investigation will lead him to a vast and nefarious conspiracy. And also werewolves. A whole pack of them. Right on his tail. How does the world of the fifth elephant work? What's interesting about the world building of the fifth elephant is that it's not so much creating new aspects of the Discworld as it is reconfiguring and combining already established aspects, which, come to think of it, rather supports my theory that the Silver Era is basically just a transition period for the series. A case in point, while dwarfs had existed long before this book, their internal politics and nationalities weren't delved into too deeply, so to speak. The fifth elephant, though, establishes how the dwarves are ruled by a Low King in Uberwald, which is itself expanded from a Hollywood Transylvania to a broader evocation of Eastern Europe in general. This means that dwarfs are neighbors to and regularly interact with werewolves, vampires, and Igors, which might strike some as odd, but somehow Pratchett makes it seem normal. Or at least as normal as anything can be on the disc. The fifth elephant also delves into Angua's relatives, and spoiler alert, they're not the nicest family. While werewolves have a tendency to be portrayed as slobbering beasts, the werewolf barony we encounter in this book is just as snobbish and classist as the most aristocratic vampire. Indeed, one might argue that that's rather the point. While Angua's family might do some pretty disreputable things like scratch their ears with their legs, leave wet dog smell everywhere, and feast on the flesh of common peasants, because they are nobility, their actions are never challenged, and there's no one to take them to task. No one, that is, save Sam Vimes, but that would be spoilers. In terms of new world building, this is the first appearance of Lady Margolotta, as well as the last appearance of our beloved Gaspode the Wonder Dog. Lady Margolotta is a vampire, but don't worry, she's teetotal, like Vimes. She also kinda has this thing with Lord Vetinari, which might have been put there to dissuade the VetVimes shippers, but some ships stick no matter how hard you scrape. As for Gaspode, he'd very much like to romantically pursue Angua, but his position as the third wheel of a love triangle is taken in this book by Gavin, a wolf and ex-boyfriend of Angua's. Gavin is basically a lupine version of Carrot, being fiercely intelligent and a natural leader of his pack. He even has his own sort of charisma, though it seems to only work on wolves. The newest and most important piece of world building in the fifth elephant, though, comes with the clacks. The clacks are basically semaphore telegraphs, which were a means of communication way back in ye olden times. They're significantly more reliable than their historical inspiration, but this is helped by the fact that they don't have a curvature of the earth to deal with, as well as by the presence of gargoyles, who are much less in need of food, sleep, or avoiding tedium than regular humans. In terms of real-world parallels, the clacks are really more a comment on the then burgeoning internet than anything else. However, their presence marks a pretty big shift away from previous industrial inventions on the disc, for the simple reason that they remain intact and widespread by the end of the story, unlike the film technology of moving pictures or the music equipment of soul music. Indeed, their presence would usher in a new age of information for the disc, which, hey, I guess the Silver Era really is just one big transition period for Discworld. What does the fifth elephant have to say? Pretty much what we've come to expect from a City Watch story. It's difficult to change the world, and saving it is an almost Sisyphean ordeal, but maybe if you work hard enough and channel that anger, you can make the world just a little bit better. The events of the plot may be kicked off by the theft of the Scone of Stone, but this theft really only brings to the fore problems that were bubbling up to the surface long before Vimes happened along Uberwald. The pull between tradition and progress, old scores that refuse to be settled, and above all else, septic and festering envy are what really laid to the conflict of the story. And even after the case is solved and the day saved, those forces remain just as prevalent and powerful as ever. Still, thanks to Vimes, things have been made just a little bit better. Final verdict. Of all the Silver Era Discworld books, this is easily my favorite. It's not a send-off like The Last Continent, and it's not a failed retool like Carpe Jugulum. It's just another installment of the City Watch. However, that's also the central issue with the fifth elephant. It feels like a continuation, but it doesn't feel like it adds anything new to the City Watch formula. If you like the previous installments of the subseries, then you'll like this one well enough, but all the elements that make it work were already established in previous books. The Carrot and Angua's romance continues from Men-at-Arms, the concept of gender in Dwarfs extends from Feet of Clay, hell, this even ends with Vimes possibly, but of course, not really, retiring, just like in Guards. The thing is, given the unique nature of the City Watch, this is understandable, and honestly forgivable. There were only so many places Rincewind could keep running to, and Margaret was always going to leave the Longer Coven just as all students inevitably leave their teachers. But the City Watch could go on for as long as Sir Terry wanted, just so long as he kept coming up with new mysteries for them. That's the advantage of the mystery genre. If you can give our detectives new cases to solve, then we tend not to mind if the characters remain static. Indeed, the granddaddy of the whole mystery genre, Sherlock Holmes, had barely any character development or progression over the course of his series. But we keep reading him because of the sheer joy of mysteries, of solving puzzles and seeing how the author constructs them. Given all these factors, I would easily give The Fifth Elephant an 8 out of 10. You know exactly what you are going to get from it, but Pratchett still makes you care and invest in the latest puzzle he's devised. And honestly, it's probably because of the City Watch's unique status as a mystery series that it's the only one of the Golden Era subseries to make it past the Silver Era. And more than just survive, but thrive. But I'm getting ahead of myself. For now, I'm Marc, signing off, and I hope you liked this video. If you did, and you would like to see me make more, please leave a like or comment down below, share my video via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or other means, and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you would like to help this channel out, I have a Patreon which you can contribute to via the link in the description. If you sign up, you will get sweet bonuses like an internet hug, early access to videos, and the ability to vote in polls to help me decide which works to cover next. Also, if I manage to get to 250 subscribers by the end of this year, that is 250 YouTube subscribers by January 1st, 2022, I will play and stream Dragon Quest V for you all. Let's do this, people. Come on. Thank you all, and I will see you in the next one.